In 1992, America stood at the crossroads of a rapidly changing world. The Cold War had ended, Bill Clinton was campaigning for the presidency, and the country was embracing the dawn of a digital age with cautious optimism. Amidst the global shifts and national conversations, a small but mighty symbol of tradition quietly continued its legacy, the 1-cent coin, bearing the timeless visage of President Abraham Lincoln. The 1992 USA 1-cent coin, like millions before and after it, was not expected to be anything more than a humble piece of copper-plated zinc. It was produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, featuring Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet, in a twist that would intrigue collectors for decades, a few coins emerged from the minting presses with a tiny detail, nearly invisible to the untrained eye, that transformed their value from 1 cent to tens of thousands of dollars. The legend of the 1992 close AM penny begins with a subtle but critical error. In the standard Lincoln cent from that era, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side are spaced slightly apart. This is referred to as the wide AM design. However, a few coins minted in 1992 were struck using a reverse die intended for proof coins, which had the close AM design, where the letters are nearly touching. To most people, this seemed like an insignificant detail. After all, who would look that closely at the tiny text on the back of a penny? But to numismatists, those who treasure coins not for their spending power, but for their history and rarity, this was monumental. In the suburbs of Michigan, a high school student named Olivia had been collecting coins casually with her grandfather. One evening, they poured out a jar of spare change onto the living room carpet and began sorting, laughing as they flipped coins and shared stories. Olivia picked up a 1992 penny, tilted it under the light, and noticed something odd. The spacing on the back didn't look like the others they had. Her grandfather pulled out a magnifying glass, and his eyebrows rose. He rushed to his coin reference book. The penny was a 1992 close AM, a variety so rare, only a few were known to exist. They sent the coin to a grading service, which confirmed its authenticity. Not long after, it was sold at auction for a staggering $98,500, making headlines in the numismatic world. Since then, other examples have surfaced, with similar coins selling between $50,000 and $110,000, depending on condition and certification. Each time, the discovery has been a moment of shock and awe. The rarity of the 1992 close AM is not just about a misused die. It's about the perfect storm of circumstance, a mistake made during production, unnoticed at the time, that resulted in just a handful of coins slipping into circulation. It's about the power of attention to detail and the stories that can emerge from the smallest overlooked things. But the story of the 1992 penny doesn't end with close AM. That year was also important because it represented the final full year before the United States began implementing major changes in how coins were made and distributed. The copper-plated zinc composition that began in 1982 was firmly entrenched by 1992, and mass production was at an all-time high. Yet even in this sea of billions of identical coins, something unique found its way out. There's a quiet lesson wrapped in the 1992 cent, that even the most mundane object can carry immense value if we look closely enough. For every collector who scans a pile of pennies under fluorescent lights, for every child who sifts through coin jars with their grandparents, and for every curious mind who wonders about the story behind a date and a design, this coin is a testament to the magic that can lie in plain sight. So the next time you find yourself holding a penny from 1992, flip it over. Look at the AM in America. Are the letters wide apart, or do they nearly touch? If they touch, well, you might just be holding more than spare change. You might be holding a piece of American coin history, a coin that whispers a story worth up to $110,000. The year was 2000. A new millennium had dawned. People were adjusting to a world where the internet was becoming part of everyday life. Y2K had come and gone with more of a whimper than a bang, and optimism buzzed in the air like static electricity. While much of America was looking ahead to the future, deep within the rhythmic clatter of the U.S. Mint's machinery, A small, quiet legacy continued, the production of the Lincoln 1-cent coin. The 2000 USA 1-cent coin may appear unremarkable at first glance. With the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, it was a continuation of a design Americans had known since 1959. Struck from copper-plated zinc and produced in massive quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the coin was destined for pockets, piggy banks, and parking meters. But then, something unexpected happened. A few rare versions of the 2000 penny emerged with a peculiar anomaly, what collectors would come to call the wide AM reverse. In these special coins, the letters A and M in America on the reverse were spaced noticeably wider apart than in typical circulation coins. This difference was a result of a design mix-up at the mint, where the reverse die intended for proof coins was accidentally used to strike circulation coins. This seemingly insignificant spacing error would go unnoticed by most. But in the hands of collectors and sharp-eyed enthusiasts, it became a golden ticket. One such story takes us to a flea market in rural Pennsylvania, where a retired Navy veteran named Joe stumbled upon a vendor selling bags of old change. Always on the hunt for coins to share with his granddaughter, Joe bought a bag for $5 and took it home. He and his granddaughter, Lucy, spent the afternoon sorting the coins on the kitchen table. Lucy liked lining them up by year and shine. Then, she noticed something odd with one of the 2000 pennies. The back didn't look like the others. The spacing between A and M was different. Joe pulled out his old magnifying loupe and gasped. They had found a 2000 wide AM penny, a rarity known to fetch between $50,000 and $110,000 depending on condition and provenance. After verification from a coin grading service, they learned theirs was in almost mint state, flawless surfaces, full luster. It sold later that year at auction for $96,000 for a coin that was supposed to be worth a single cent. It turned into a life-changing moment for Joe and Lucy. They used the funds to set up a college savings account and even took a long-promised trip to the Grand Canyon. But what makes the 2000 wide AM penny truly fascinating isn't just the value. It's the fact that it reflects a human moment inside the clinical precision of the minting process. Somewhere along the line, someone switched a die mint for proof coins, those pristine, polished versions not meant for general circulation, with one for regular use. Just a handful of coins escaped the mint's quality controls and slipped into everyday use. In total, only a limited number of 2000 wide AM pennies have ever been discovered. Each new one that surfaces causes a stir in the numismatic community, as collectors scramble to verify and secure these elusive gems. They're symbols of rarity born from routine mistakes that transformed into marvels. These coins continue to inspire collectors around the world. Kids check their pocket change. Retirees revisit old coin jars. Dealers scrutinize every 2000 penny that crosses their tables. Because the next wide AM could still be out there, waiting in a forgotten drawer, a garage sale shoebox, or the coin slot of a vending machine. So, if you come across a penny dated 2000, take a moment to flip it over and look closely at the word America. Are the A and M almost touching, or is there a small but clear gap? If you spot that wide spacing, congratulations, you might be holding a quiet legend. A penny that doesn't just tell the story of Lincoln or the new millennium, but one that whispers tales of error, luck, and extraordinary value in the most unexpected of places. In the spring of 2004, America was in motion. It was an election year. Social networks were still in their infancy, with Facebook having just launched from a Harvard dorm room. People still paid for coffee with coins and dollar bills. The rustling sound of pocket change was as common as a dial tone. And in that everyday noise, millions of tiny copper-plated zinc discs were quietly released into circulation by the U.S. Mint, pennies, bearing the timeless face of Abraham Lincoln. Among the ocean of those coins was one special kind, the 2004 USA 1-cent coin, which, at first glance, appeared like any other. But as seasoned collectors will tell you, the magic is always in the details. Some of these pennies carried within them a secret, a doubling here, a filled mint mark there, a sharpness and strike that suggested something went just a little differently during minting. These subtle variations, virtually invisible to the casual spender, would later spark numismatic excitement across the country. Consider the story of Elena Morales, a high school history teacher from Albuquerque, New Mexico. A lover of American culture and artifacts, she often told her students that history could be found in the most unexpected places. One rainy afternoon, while preparing for a school bake sale, Elena emptied a small ceramic jar where she had tossed change for years. Sorting coins to make enough quarters and dimes, she noticed a single penny that looked oddly bright under the kitchen light. The date on the coin read 2004. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But when Elena turned it sideways, the letterings, "Liberty, in God we trust," looked thicker than usual, as if they had been stamped twice. Curious, she brought it to her neighbor, Thomas, a retired postal worker and passionate coin collector. Thomas took one look and his eyes lit up. He fetched his loupe and examined the coin under strong light. Sure enough, Elena's penny exhibited the signs of a double die obverse, a rare error where the coin's die had struck the design twice but slightly off from the first impact. The doubling was clean, visible even without magnification, a rare trait. They took the coin to a local coin dealer, then to a coin show in Santa Fe. The verdict from multiple experts was unanimous. This was a gem. The coin was sent for grading and came back from PCGS as MS67 red, nearly flawless and brilliant in appearance. Soon, collectors were buzzing. At a well-attended online auction, the coin sold for a staggering $46,000, placing it securely in the mid-range of the now recognized valuation spectrum for rare 2004 pennies, asterisk from $20,000 to as high as $70,000 depending on error type and condition. But Elena's story wasn't unique. Across the country, other sharp-eyed individuals discovered similarly strange 2004 pennies, some with off-center strikes, others with die cracks that split Lincoln's head or columns of the memorial building. One particularly dramatic specimen featured an almost ghost-like second profile of Lincoln, slightly offset from the first, and fetched over $50,000 at a Las Vegas show. What makes the 2004 penny fascinating is how unremarkable it was meant to be. There were no celebrations that year around the penny. No new designs or commemorative editions. The reverse still bore the Lincoln Memorial, just as it had since 1959. Yet hidden among the masses, the mint had unintentionally produced coins that would capture imaginations and open wallets years later. Minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, the 2004 pennies came from presses designed for mass production, churning out thousands of coins per minute. When dies weren't properly aligned, or when overuse caused minor deformities, some pennies exited the facility slightly askew. It's those mistakes, rare, specific, and oddly beautiful, that would become the most sought after. Collectors today sift through rolls of 2004 pennies, hoping to glimpse the same magic. Dealers at conventions proudly display slabs with bright red coins from that year, some without errors, but still valued highly due to their exceptional condition. The best preserved examples, graded MS67 red or higher, are rarities in themselves. Numismatics isn't just about rarity. It's about stories. And every 2004 penny with an error carries one. The story of a coin that was supposed to be ordinary, but became something extraordinary. A story of someone like Elena, who stumbled upon value simply because she was paying attention. So, if you find yourself holding a 2004 penny, pause for a moment. Tilt it toward the light. Examine the lettering. Look at the memorial's columns. Notice the lines, the texture, the color. What you're holding might not just be a coin. It might be a time capsule, a hidden masterpiece, or perhaps a lottery ticket in copper form. Because while it may say 1 cent, in the world of collectors and coin lovers, its true worth could be measured in thousands. Maybe $70,000. Maybe more. That's the beauty of hidden value. It waits patiently, in plain sight, for the moment it's finally seen. Numismatics isn't just about rarity. It's about stories. And every 2004 penny with an error carries one. The story of a coin that was supposed to be ordinary but became something extraordinary. A story of someone like Elena, who stumbled upon value simply because she was paying attention. So, if you find yourself holding a 2004 penny, pause for a moment. Tilt it toward the light. Examine the lettering. Look at the memorial's columns. Notice the lines, the texture, the color. What you're holding might not just be a coin. It might be a time capsule, a hidden masterpiece, or perhaps a lottery ticket in copper form.